What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I did another mac and cheese hack, but this time we did it on the stovetop. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate what happens in the oven with my regular mac and cheese hacks, the oven mac and cheese, where you're adding the pasta, the milk, and the cheese all together and then stirring it all up when it comes out. With that, you're not really mixing the cheese in, you're adding it to the center, around on the top, which keeps the liquid on the thinner side so that the pasta has the ability to actually cook and that the sauce doesn't get too gummy. I had a bunch of different cheeses in my fridge. I wanted to just kind of clean house. So I've got mozzarella, goat cheese, two kinds of cheddar, American, Parmesan. One of the cheddars that I'm using today is Kerrygold, and it's one that I hadn't tried before, but it is so good. It's got like a sweetness to it, but it's not sweet by any means. It's just got this like caramelized sweet twang to it that's a little bit different from their Dubliner. It is so good. Obviously the goat cheese has a nice tang to it as well. Some people like to add mustard to their mac and cheese. I don't know. I would just rather add goat cheese to get that tanginess, which is why you would add mustard. And of course, if you wanted to add mustard, you can. If you wanted to add onions, garlic, paprika, you know, have a freaking field day, whatever kind of seasonings you like. I just wanted to demonstrate again the very basics that you can do, and you only really need salt. Salt brings out the natural flavor of everything, and we've got some really great tasting cheeses in here. I personally want to taste them. Got my mac and cheese spoon, that citrusy Chardonnay to drink. Let's get started. Oh man, it's like nice and thick now. Something to keep in mind is that if you feel like the sauce is too thin, just give it a few minutes. 6 cups of liquid seems like a lot. You just have to make sure you're adding enough cheese to really thicken it up too, because you really need that much liquid to cover all of the pasta in order to be able to cook it. Oh my gosh, it's so cheesy. This pasta radiatore has all of these little ridges that really hold on to the sauce so well. Oh my gosh. All right, guys, cheers. It's still so hot. The sharp cheddar and the goat cheese have an amazing sharpness to them. So much flavor just from the cheese. You guys really want to add seasoning, you can, but cheese tastes good. You want to taste it. I always recommend grating fresh whenever you can, for some cheeses anyways. Parmesan, definitely one of them. Pecorino, all of those hard cheeses, definitely grate them fresh. And cheddar is another. I really love grating cheddar fresh, especially these like really nice cheeses. Like, they don't come pre-grated, so like you have to do the work. It's that Kerrygold, I'm telling you. I got an email. This really is so good. I don't know why anyone would want to cover up that flavor with unnecessary seasoning. And this goes so well. Again, kind of an acidic Chardonnay. Chardonnays to me are kind of naturally more buttery, which obviously makes sense with mac and cheese, right? Though we don't even have butter in here today, which is another thing that I love about this stovetop preparation. No needing to like make a roux, that butter, flour, milk situation to thicken up the milk. The pasta kind of helps thicken up the milk by cooking in it, releasing all of that starch while it cooks, and then you're adding the cheese in, so the whole thing kind of just tightens up, gets real cozy and happy together. Random thought, and I don't even know why. I swear I was just watching something on TV and it was about summer camp. And I just had these like flashbacks to summer camp. I loved summer camp. My brother and I went to YMCA Camp Greenville in Greenville, South Carolina. I was on top of Cedar Mountain, the most gorgeous camp. The landscape was just stunning, and just everything about camp I loved. I loved being away from home with a bunch of kids my own age. I even enjoyed staying in a cabin. I hated kind of waking up real early every morning, but once I'm up, so it really only bothered me for a little while. But just like everything, there were constantly things to do, boys. I don't mean things to do as in boys are things to do. I was way too young for that. So this camp, like the best part, the most beautiful part of this camp was their chapel. And I'm not religious or anything. I got my first communion, but I never got confirmed. We kind of stopped going to church, yada, yada. But this was a Christian camp, and their church was on the edge of the mountain, and it didn't have a front. So you walked into this church. They called it Pretty Place. Totally appropriate. You walk into this church, and the whole front of it is missing except for a cross. And you just look out onto the whole mountain range. I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about it. The most beautiful thing ever. And they had all of these things like milestones you could achieve as a camper or a cabin, where you could go do things in the morning, like go and watch the sunrise. They called it the fog jog, to jog to Pretty Place to watch the sunrise. And then you could do the polar bear swim in the lake. And there were a couple other things. And like if you did all of them, I want to say it was called like Breakfast of Champions or something. Which I did once. I remember I had like one of my very first major crushes at summer camp. It was one of those just like love at first sight things. His name was Kenny. It's just so funny. He had this head of curly blonde hair that I was truly obsessed with. Like, I was obsessed. You know, being in love or crushing on people when you're that young, it's kind of incredible the way it makes you feel. It's like the first time almost that you're feeling these things, and it's kind of addicting. I personally am someone that loves feeling things like that. Like on every end of the spectrum, I mean, obviously like the sad emotions are not as ideal, but when I feel them, I want to feel them like 110%. So yeah, needless to say, those were some really exciting times. And I barely even spoke to him like the whole time, like at all. I only like saw him a few times that first year. I mean, it's just really funny. It's still hot. It's just like self-heating. I want to make a mac and cheese like with just that Dubliner. It kind of reminds me of like a really nutty, sharp Gruyere mixed with a sharp cheddar. So good. It was a random purchase too. I was like, I'm not gonna make mac and cheese with this. I'm gonna eat it piece by piece. Here I am. I wish I could remember more details of camp. Just like back then, you know, there's no cell phones. There were like notes, I think, that were passed back and forth. Oh, this is for Lindsay. This is for Kenny. And I remember, like I said, I barely spoke to him that first time I went. And I heard that he kissed another girl after I left. I was so devastated. But somehow, and I have no idea why, he had my home phone number, like my landline. I must have given it to him. And we stayed in touch until like the following summer. I like kept this printed photo of him on my computer desk and just admired it with everything that I had. Oh, camp. Those were the days. Those were the days. I remember our camp dances. They would say like, to save room for Jesus. So if you were dancing like too close, a counselor would just kind of come up in between and be like, make room for Jesus, and walk away. And you're like, damn counselor. And they were very exciting, very exciting. Because there were slow dances. And I'm pretty sure I like had braces. So cute. And every single dance, at the very end, they would play It's the End of the World as We Know It by REM. And we would run in a circle around the exterior of the gymnasium, because that's where the dances were held. And every now and then, they'd be like, whoa, whoa, switch! And we would have to start running the other direction until it stopped, and then it was all over. If anyone else went there, I will straight up die. I flippin' loved it. And then the little like, you know, guitar sessions with the camp leader or whatever the heck he was, Greg, I think his name was. Why do I remember that? Where all of the cabins would just come and gather around and sing songs. And what was the one song that they always sang? That's gonna kill me. Circle Game. Circle Game. That's totally what it's called. Joni Mitchell. I didn't realize it was Joni Mitchell. Yesterday a child came out to wonder, caught a dragonfly inside a jar, fearful when the sky was full of thunder. I have no idea if that's how it goes. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time, of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. And it was always really sad because it was like the end of camp and everyone would cry because they were leaving. I was leaving Kenny. Oliver, you don't know Kenny. You weren't alive back then. Oh man. I wonder if Kenny watches this. Do you watch me, Kenny? Are you watching right now? Poor Kenny's beautiful hair is just not there anymore. It's very sad. He like shaved his entire head. He started going bald, shaved his head. That's what's happened to Shane. And he had to just shave it all off. I'm not gonna lie, I do like a full head of hair. I cannot tell a lie. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I pulled up that song. Memories. I did regular camp there, adventure camp, where we'd go like rock climbing and whitewater rafting. Rock climbing was really never successful for me. I just remember crying at the top like, I want my mom! Like literally, quite literally, said I wanted my mom while crying. Only somewhat embarrassing because I was kind of young. And then I also did lifeguard training there and volunteered there. So I want to say I volunteered for 2 weeks one summer. My best friend Rachel was with me that summer too. I was like, this place is awesome, you need to come. So she came. We volunteered together with our friend Liz. Oh my gosh, I miss my friend Liz. She's from Tampa, Clearwater, whatever. But we had so much fun. We were like washing dishes, helping like build paths, all sorts of like random things that needed to be done around the camp. And then the lifeguard training, I believe it was 3 weeks. So I was there for like a long freaking time. I don't want to say I was there for 7 weeks though, because I would have gone to camp for 2 weeks. So maybe I volunteered for a week or something. I think I was gone for like a total of 5 weeks that summer. And it was amazing. I was like so happy. I was so sad when it ended. There were just so many amazing things to do there. Kind of like why I like going on cruises too. There's just always something to do. There's activities filling up every day and every night. You're never bored. And I love that, you know? Some vacations, yeah, I just want to like lay on a beach, but I love to be stimulated. That's what she said. I'm kind of an anxious person. And so I find that when I have things to do, I'm most in the moment. If I'm being distracted with an activity, then I don't have a chance to think about my anxiety or what's gonna happen next. Like, I'm in it, you know? Has this table been this crooked this whole time? One thing that you should definitely look out for, going back to the mac and cheese, is don't add your cheese when the liquid is boiling away like I did. Sort of thought I had it under control. I had literally turned the heat off, but I should have just taken it off the burner, because what ends up happening when you add cheese and it's too hot is it won't get like super creamy and melty. It'll end up having like a little bit of a grit to it, which is the case with mine, though it still tastes amazing. It's just not as like velvety smooth as I would have liked it. There's got to be way more stories from camp, so I'll have to think about it and we can reconvene about it. I just loved camp, and I remember the last year that I went, I was getting to that age where if I came back, I was going to be like a counselor or a junior counselor, I think they called it. And then I never went back. Like, there was just something going on every summer, whether it was a vacation. I think the vacation when I graduated high school was like, well, I'm probably not going back to camp after this. I want to say I went when I was like 15. And yeah, just like never made it back. Shane and I actually drove up there. Where were we? Oh, we were in Atlanta. When we were living in Atlanta, we made a day trip, drove up to Camp Greenville. Well, to like Greenville, South Carolina. We kind of, you know, sat at a restaurant, had some food, had a drink. We went to the campgrounds. We were able to actually drive through it. Saw the cabins. Oh my gosh, it just like brings back so much, you know. The nostalgia is like insane. And we also did some hiking. There were several trails that you could do around the camp. I actually had like shirts that said I had conquered, I don't know, remember what it was, like the Fabulous Five, or there was the something 7, I think that was like all of them. But we went and did Rainbow Falls, I think it was, possibly one other. Gosh, my memory is just terrible. Terrible. Kitten, that is not your food. Hey, 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 hey. I will get you your food in just a second. He keeps eating his brother's expensive diet food and he doesn't need it. My neighbor is looking at me right now. He's on the phone. Yeah, out by his garage. I know he's looking at me because I just looked over and I caught him and he just continued to look this direction. I've literally never met him. I've lived here for 3.5 years. He's lived here for a long time. And we have never said, hi, my name is so-and-so. Hi, my name is so-and-so. P.S. Did you know we're neighbors? Like, no, this conversation has never happened. Butters, Butters, get away from his food. I will feed you in just a second. Okay, this is my last bite because Butters is just losing it. And I'm pretty full, honestly. This is a heavy meal. I had about 1/4 of this whole thing, and I'd be lying if I said that I didn't calculate exactly how many calories this whole thing was before I started, which is why I'm able to eat like this, because I know exactly what I'm eating and what that means for me. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. When I say excuse me to him and he's eating Oliver's food, he'll just like sit up and food will fall out of his mouth and he's like, what, me? Me? I didn't do it. Food's literally falling out of his mouth. You're not fooling anybody, cat. And while we went up there, it like hugs the North Carolina and South Carolina state line. So I did a walk to remember moment. Had one foot in South Carolina, one foot in North Carolina, and had Shane take a picture of me. My Nicholas Sparks walk to remember moment. All right, guys, well, this was delicious. Please, please, please keep in mind what I said about adding the cheese. Make sure that everything is off the heat when you do. Give it a real good stir. If you're like, oh, why isn't this thicker? Like I said, just give it a minute. Because the way this is right now, super cheesy, but it ain't watery in the least. It is a very thick sauce, so just trust the process. Make sure you're adding enough cheese. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Y'all know just how much I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with me. Comment below what you thought about this stovetop version of my mac and cheese hack. Have you done something like this before? I feel like this is way more common. Putting pasta in some boiling water on the stove or other sort of simmering, boiling liquid and letting it cook and then adding other things to it. If y'all have made hamburger helper before, you know what I'm talking about. Comment below other mac and cheeses you want to see me make. I know I haven't been making super traditional mac and cheeses as far as like preparation wise, or I've been making like kind of crazy flavors lately. So if you want me to kind of pull the reins back and do some creative, not too crazy versions of mac and cheese, I'm happy to do that for you. Comment below, let me know what else you want to know about my life. If there's something from this story that you want me to elaborate on. I'm sure that y'all may have questions because I didn't really go super in detail on a whole lot of things. And of course, comment below any other questions you have for me to answer in another video. I'm really kind of digging doing this like Q&A like this, or just like randomly telling stories about my life. It's cool to me that you guys like want to know about that stuff. You want to learn about me. And I'm hoping that it helps you somehow in one way or another, that you can relate to it. I don't know, that it just like benefits you in some way. That's what I'm trying to do here. Anyways, guys, thank you again so much for joining today. And I will see you guys next time. He's still looking at me, and now I gotta do the kissy part. Bye, guys.